Going on, guys? Hope you're enjoying your Sunday morning. It's pretty early. I was up pretty late last night, feeling a little rough, but we'll get through this. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about the number one question I've been getting pretty much this past week. I've been getting a lot of new subscribers lately, and the number one question I've been getting is how do I get my contracts? How do I find contracts? And that's because a lot of my content lately is about the new contracts I've been finding. So we're going to talk about how I get my new contracts. I'm going to give the usual channel update. As I just mentioned, I got 2 more contracts last week, so my schedule is a lot more hectic. I'm going to talk about that. Give a mentoring update about how the mentoring is going, my student openings, and then as usual, just Q&A. So usual format. I'm going to talk for like 5 minutes or so. Keep asking questions. I'll keep saying what's up. What's up? Who came in here? Siddharth, good to see you again. Genghis Khan, good to see you. Thomas and Doug, good to see you guys from the Slack channel too. Ben, good to see you again. Alex, right in with the questions right away. I like it. We'll answer this one question before I get started. So it says, how much Swift did you know when you got your first job? Minimal. Like I've mentioned before, when I got my first job, they hired me not because of my dev skills. I was fresh out of a boot camp. They know I didn't really know all that much. You can't really learn. Even though you learn a lot in the bootcamp in 8 weeks, you can't really be like a professional developer going from nothing to developer in 8 weeks. So when I got hired, it was basically for me and my initiative, hard work, great attitude, more so than the actual coding ability. So all right, see a lot of people coming in. Good to see you, Sean. Let me go ahead and get through my little 5-minute spiel, and then get to your Q&A. So go ahead and keep asking questions as I'm talking. I'll go back and catch up on it. But again, the subject today is how do I get my contracts? So again, I've been getting bombarded with questions about how to get contracts. I feel like I answer this 10 times a day. So I'm going to hopefully address this now. I understand I'm not going to see, or everybody's not going to see this, but so I'm just going to go through the story of how I got all my contracts. Again, I've been doing this full time for like 6 months, so by no means am I an expert. I can just tell you what I did, what worked for me, and then hopefully you guys can find that information useful and apply it to your own life and make it work for you. So I'm going to start with the first contract I ever got. And I've told some of these stories before, so but bear with me if you've heard them. So the very first contract I got, actually let me back up. The moral of this story is, if you guys want the cliff notes and just jump right to the end, is it's all through my professional or personal network. It's, you've heard the saying, life's not about what you know, it's about who you know. I mean, it's pretty true. It's everything I've gotten has been through people I know or people I've worked with in the past. So let me run through the stories real quick. The very first contract I got, it was literally fresh out of the boot camp, was from my roommate, who's a guy he worked with was looking for somebody to build a quick tvOS app to do streaming of helping videos. Because my roommate knew that I had just finished an iOS boot camp, he's like, hey, would you be interested? Talked to the guy, knocked out the TV app in like a week. And here's another running theme throughout these stories is impress the hell out of people the very first time you work with them. Because all of my contracts have led to more work because the initial small project we started off with, I knocked out of the park. Not to be like braggadocious or anything, but like, these were small, easy projects, and I took them seriously and just blew them away right away, which led to more work. So I did that with the TV app, iOS app. That took like a week to build. He was super impressed. And about 2 weeks later, he comes back to me and is like, okay, hey, I have an idea for an iBeacons app. Do you want to work on that? Sure. And this is back when I had a full-time job and I'm just doing contracting on the side. This isn't like full-time contracting. So over the next 2 or 3 months, I built that, iBeacons app. And then that's kind of where that relationship ended. He stopped making more apps, but no big deal. So again, the moral of the story, I started with a very small project, blew him away, and it led to more work. It's going to be a running theme. How I got involved in the agency that I'm working with that has been feeding me a lot of work. I'm now on my 4th contract with this agency, 4th project. So this relationship has budded into or blossomed into something very good and very nice. So how I got in with them is when I was interviewing for, if you guys have seen my Facebook interview videos, it was during that time period. I was interviewing at Facebook, I was interviewing at a lot of other major companies around San Francisco, and the bootcamp I went to has an alumni Facebook group, and they're always posting like opportunities and stuff there. So I was just perusing that because I didn't have any income. I remember I quit my job to interview at Facebook and around town, so I had no income coming in. This agency posted, it wasn't even the agency, it was just a guy, like one of the guys working at the agency said, hey, is anybody looking for a quick contracting project? And because I was interviewing, I didn't have any income coming in. I was like, sure, I'll knock it out. So reached out to him, it worked out. Again, this was a small, super small, like 3 or 4 screen app. It was converting it from Objective-C to Swift. So again, it took me like a week to do. Again, knocked it out of the park, took it seriously. That led to me impressing them and them being like, hey, and maybe this was kind of lucky because their developer they had working on another project had just left like 2 weeks ago and they were kind of scrambling to fill the spot. I came into this other project, really impressed them, and they said, hey, you know, do you want to work on this project? And I said, sure. And, you know, so impressing somebody for 1 week can be a fluke. So I worked on this next project for 2 to 3 months, and it proved that it wasn't a fluke. So now by the end of this project, I am now their go-to iOS guy. So again, let me back up big picture. The theme is you got to like earn your work almost. Like people aren't just going to give you these huge projects without knowing you. Everything that I've gotten has started off with a super small project, and you just impress the hell out of them on that project, and then it leads to a bigger project. Impress them on that project, it leads to an even bigger one. So that's kind of where I am now with this agency. And now I'm on, like I said, my 4th contract. I'm their go-to iOS guy. Basically, any iOS project they get, it's going to be me if I have availability. So again, I feel like I've earned that, and that's kind of what I wanted to say is it takes time, start small, and you may get big. And the second contract I have right now, so right now I'm doing like 2 contracts. One is with that company. The second one is from a buddy that I used to play basketball with 3 years ago. And again, this goes back to it's not what you know, it's who you know. So I played basketball with this guy back in my hometown before I even moved out to San Francisco. Haven't even seen him in 3 years, but we built a good relationship back then. Like we would always talk. We were both kind of like entrepreneurial, and he wanted, you know, I would always talk to him about how I moved out to San Francisco to kind of make it happen, and we built a good relationship. Hadn't seen him in 3 years. He did his own thing. He started building like a fitness and wellness app, and he needed an app developer. He knew me, and he reached out to me, and now I'm working on that app with him. So, you know, he raised a little bit of money for it too. So it's nice to know that there's like solid payment. It's not just like some guy paying out of his pocket. Like it's a serious startup that he raised money for. So that's kind of how it's happened. Like I said, it's all through personal or professional network. Oh, and I forgot to mention the 3rd contract that I'm not sure if I'm going to take on yet that I've been telling you guys about. That came from a guy I worked with at my previous startup. So he and I worked together every day for a year on that app. So he knew how I worked, you know, how I did, basically what I could do. So when he moved on to another project and they needed an iOS developer, I was the first person he thought of. So it's hard to say, to like give you guys advice on like how to find these projects, because a lot of the ones I found were like seeds planted, you know, over a year ago that kind of just came to be recently. So I don't have, and this is what I said, I'm not an expert. I don't have experience in just cold emailing an agency and applying, or finding an agency online and applying. Like I don't have experience in that. These have all kind of fell into my lap, you know, through people I know. And like I said, you can say it's lucky, and I kind of think it might be, but at the same time, if I didn't build these relationships through basketball or, you know, through work, you know, they wouldn't have came to me. So again, I'm going to preach, it's who you know. Like build those relationships. You never know how it's going to come back. And don't build those relationships just to like, I hope I get a contract by building this relationship. Just be cool with people is really what it is. I mean, I would have never thought that guy I played basketball with 3 years ago would turn into work for me now. Like that never even occurred to me. So yeah, I agree with that, Doug. The harder you work, the luckier you get. There's that other saying, the luck is where hard work and opportunity like combine or something like that. I probably messed that up. Someone will correct me, but yeah, it's true. Just be prepared, and you know, when that opportunity comes up, jump on it. And like I said, the key is, even if you get a small opportunity, don't look at it as like, oh, this is a 1 week project, it's nothing. Just try to impress them. You never know, there could be more work behind it. So all right, that's all I got for the contracting stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and catch up on questions and then give some other updates here. All right, going all the way back to the top here. Corey, greeting from Bahamas. Nice to see you. Ben, good to see you again. There's Alex's question. PD the Pro says, how important to learn HTML and CSS along with any programming language? I don't think it's important. I mean, I know it a little bit because I built my own personal website, which I'm looking for a redesign and a rework of that. We'll get into that later. But speaking for iOS, I mean, don't get me wrong. Any language is good to know and can be useful. Is it required to do iOS development? Absolutely not. But any other language is good to know. Nadim says, do you make money from your YouTube channel? Very little. I actually just got my first, I didn't even get the first check yet, but I crossed the threshold of $100 a couple weeks ago. So what's in my AdSense account, just to give you guys an idea, is like 140 bucks. And if you guys have been following along from the beginning, I've been doing this since late February, 3-4 videos a week, hours and hours and hours. So that's what, 5-6 months of work, 140 bucks. So don't get me wrong, it has led to like coaching opportunities and other stuff. However, it's not like YouTube is paying the bills by any means. You don't, so just for those that are unfamiliar with YouTube, I know people have misconceptions like, yes, you can make good money on YouTube, but that's when you get to like 100,000 subscribers, 200,000, you got to get like really up there to make money on AdSense alone, which is just the ads. So unless you like build a side business, like, you know, whether sell courses, sell an ebook, do other stuff, that's pretty much how you need to make money as a small YouTube channel. You're not going to make money off ads until you get really, really big. So yes, I do make money, but again, $140 something in 6 months, not exactly a job. Do I have a chance to get a job in programming without a degree? Yes. I mean, don't get me wrong, having a CS degree will help, and it is the harder route to go, but like I said, my degrees are in finance and economics, has nothing to do with programming. So you don't need one, but it does make the road a little tougher probably. What's going on, Mark? Brittany says, for a beginner, what kinds of apps should I make to upload to the App Store so it'll be more eye-catching to employers? Just apps that cover the typical iOS stuff. Table views, you're going to make a table view in every single app, so make sure you have that in your app. Network calls, you know, basically make a call to a network, get JSON back, parse the JSON, and show that data in a table view or a collection view, whichever you prefer. Those are the two biggest things that employers are going to want to see. Other than that, I mean, try to fit as much in there as possible within reason. It's kind of a balancing act. Like you want to have you don't want to spend a year and a half building your portfolio app, right? But you also want to have it featured enough, you know, to get a job. So those are the two I would absolutely recommend is table views, networking. There's probably more, but it's hard to think off the top of your head. Live. Von Don says, is it right that we should not be making network calls from the ViewController? What is the best place to put them? I usually have like a networking layer, and sometimes that's even split out even more depending on how big that networking layer gets. So it's just a class that I have is usually called like Network Manager, and I just put all my network calls in there. That way, in the ViewController, so let's say I want to retrieve list of whatever. In the ViewController, all I have to do is call Network Manager, depending on how you do it. I won't get into the details of the code. Network Manager dot retrieve list, and then there'll usually be a completion handler that will execute code after that list has been retrieved. So yes, it's best practice. I mean, you can do it in the ViewController. It's not like it's not going to work, but yes, it's best practice. And as I'm scrolling up, I see people have answered your question, so I'll move on. But yes, it's not best practice to do it in the ViewController. Forgive me for mispronouncing this. Georgios, greetings from Greece. Love the vids. Thanks, man. Thanks for the kind words. Corey says, does the agency that you work for take any commissions for the job that they give you? Yes, any agency is going to do that. It's a trade, right? I don't have to worry about going to find customers. I don't have to worry about getting paid from them. I don't have to worry about any of that. I just do the work they give me. That is a convenience, and I pay for that convenience. So yes, I give them my hourly rate. They pay me that, but however, they're probably charging the client. I don't know what they charge, to be honest with you. More than they pay me, and that's how they make their money. So for example, if I'm making 70 an hour and they're charging 100 an hour, they're making 30 bucks an hour off me. I don't know if that's the numbers. I'm just giving you guys an example. But yes, like I said, that is the trade for the convenience of not having to worry about finding customers, because finding customers, as you guys are figuring out, saying, how do I find contracts, is the hardest part of the job. So if you can find an agency that will find that for you, it's worth giving up that little extra money for it. Mark says, so the question becomes how to land those small projects. Yeah, like I kind of addressed, it's just I found them through my personal network. If other than that, I have no experience, so I don't feel like I can give good advice, because I don't have experience just randomly cold calling people or figuring it out. But my only advice would be just network, whether that's meetups in your area. Like I said, basketball has been like a great networking thing for me, because I get to know these guys. We play basketball 3 or 4 times a week together. And, you know, eventually you get to know them pretty well. They know what you do. So even here in San Francisco, like I play 4 times a week at the downtown YMCA in San Francisco. I've met probably 100 guys, you know, that I've gotten like pretty, you can't get close to the 100 people, but, you know, I've gotten to know pretty well. And they all know I'm an iOS developer. Nothing has come to fruition yet, but I'm confident, I guarantee you someday down the road, one of the guys I met at basketball here in San Francisco will know somebody or will need an iOS developer themselves, and they will call me. Like, it hasn't happened yet, but I'm pretty confident one day that'll happen. Moonglare says, do you work corp to corp or 1099 under your SSN? I use 1099. Yeah. How many lines of code is too much for ViewController? It's a general rule of thumb. I like to keep mine under 200 lines. If it starts to creep up to 200 or more, I start to think about refactoring and restructuring. That being said, you know, some of my ViewControllers have gotten to be like 300 lines, and I'm just like, it makes sense for everything to be there. For some reason, it's just larger than I want it to be, but it makes sense. So it's kind of like a judgment call once you get there. However, if you're at like 500-600 lines, definitely rethink some things. But that's just my rule of thumb. As always, nothing is 100% absolute, but that is my rule of thumb. Moonglare, in your iOS interviews, do they ask about Android knowledge? Nope. Ben Bondada, yeah, I always keep network logic in a singleton. Basically, I think he's saying what I said. Some people, so singletons, I don't want to get into this now because I'm not prepared for it, and I don't know this inside and out cold, but I do know there's an argument like for singletons and against using singletons. I understand the argument against it is because it's like a global variable essentially, and those are kind of tricky sometimes. Again, don't want to get into that now, but so singleton is one way you can do it, or another class, like I said. But yeah, Ben has the right idea. Keep it separate. Good morning, Kai. Good to see you. Could you do a video on network layer in Swift without singletons? Eventually, yeah. Like I get, as you guys can imagine, I get asked. That's actually probably the most question I get asked. Can you do a video about X? And it's usually always like pertains to something very specific about that project they're working on. So that's actually question number one. So as you can imagine, my video to-do list is just a mile long. So eventually, sure, but I can't promise anytime soon. I do know I want to tackle networking, but I don't know if it'll get that specific as to like how to make a layer without singletons. So maybe eventually. Yeah, there we go. I knew somebody was going to correct me on that. Mark says, luck equals opportunity plus preparation. That's the truth. Sodar says, I got a college project to show a problem from classic quantum mechanics via code, so it requires computation, something that MATLAB can do. Do you know any Swift framework for this? No, as you know, I don't come from a computer science background, so half of that was gibberish to me. So sorry, can't really help you there. Avars, good to see you again. Avars is real big in the Slack community. Airbnb apartment, Ethan is going to die. We'll watch later and record. So he can't even hear me. Well, he'll hear me later. Prop him up. So a lot of people ask about UpWork. Avars, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm sorry. Avars does a lot of stuff on UpWork. He's like really giving UpWork a chance and to go. So maybe message him, hop on the Slack channel, join the Slack channel, message him. He seems to be the local UpWork professional, or he's at least giving it the old, solid try. Even though he said like a lot of it is crap, but you do find some good stuff in there. So he's taken one for the team to try out UpWork and really give it a good try. Good morning, Nathan. Good to see you. How is tutorial on Operation Queue, Dispatch Queue coming? Yes. Yeah, I know. I feel horrible. I've been promising this concurrency and threading tutorial for a while, and that's actually going to kind of tie into the channel update here in a little bit. It's coming this week, Tuesday. I know I've been saying that. Like, why would you believe me? I've been saying that. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. But it's coming this week. You're just going to have to trust me. And I'll get more into that in the channel update here. Sean, have you used Clean Swift? What are your thoughts on it? Never heard of it. Never heard of Clean Swift. Is that like a specific framework? Or what type of framework it is? Is it a linter? Is it a... I don't know. You're going to have to explain that one. How can I integrate Python backend into iOS development? I'm not a backend web dev. I work with a web dev that does all that, and I just basically consume the API. Not going to be able to answer that one, sorry. Matthew Sean, how important is Stack Overflow, your reputation on Stack Overflow in your experience? In my experience, none, because I don't even have the 15 rep to upvote a comment or whatever you need. You need like a certain amount of reputation to even be able to like comment and do stuff, and I don't even have that. So apparently not that important. Nathan's answering that question. Any plans to make saving, excuse me, any plans to make saving data tutorial with Foundation NSCoding? Yeah, maybe. I'm going to wait till after Swift 4 because Swift 4's new codable protocol really helps out with the whole what you have to do with NSCoding, how to encode stuff. So I think that's a good idea because I use that pretty much in every project. So yeah, that's a good idea. I'm going to wait till after Swift 4 is like fully released though. So what, October? But yeah, that's a good idea. Go ahead and add that to the ever-growing list here. Are you registered and work with multiple agencies? I only actually work with one agency. I mean, I could. I'm just not. So I work with one agency on some projects, and then the other project I'm working on is with an own individual startup. And then the third contract could just be, again, another small startup people are building on the side. Do you know anything about how Snap codes are created? As they're not regular barcodes. I thought they were QR codes. I don't know much about it. I don't even want to speak on it. I thought they were QR codes, but somebody else might be able to correct me. I don't know how they do it. I'm not really a huge Snapchat user. Sean Cotton, how do you keep up with your plans, meeting goals, to do Outlook, etc.? I just use my iCal. So before, this is actually good. I'll catch up on the questions a little bit. This is actually a good transition into the channel update. So before, my contracting work was about 25 to 30 hours a week. So as you guys can imagine, I was only working that much, so that left a lot of time for YouTube, meetings, coaching calls. I had a lot of time to do my side project stuff. Now I'm working 45 hours a week. So I'm from 25 to maybe 30 to 45, maybe 50 hours a week on my contract. So as you can imagine, a lot. I have to I'm trying to, and this is brand new this week. So this past week, I've spent trying to figure out, okay, how can I still get everything I want to do done, which is again why the concurrency and threading video has been a little behind. So I'm still trying to figure out my schedule. So I think I have a YouTube schedule down that I'm going to try to stick to. And that is going to be releasing every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So 3 videos a week, just like I promised. And Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday is what I'm going to shoot for. And the reason I want to go on a schedule, so before I was just kind of releasing videos as I felt like it. You know, I would build it, upload it, release it. Now I think I'm going to stick to a schedule, maybe try and get ahead on a schedule. That way I'll never fall behind. You know, if I slow down, I'll have videos made and ready to go. So again, it's because my time is now much more limited. I'm going to try to go to that Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday schedule. Just wanted to let you guys know that. And then the usual Patreon pitch. Definitely go check that out. Patreon.com/Sean Allen. Get involved in the Slack community. There's a lot of good stuff going on in there. Like I said, Avars is telling all people how to work on UpWork. People post their code. There's all kinds of code reviews in there. The channel that I like the most actually is the show off channel. So that's where people that are building apps, you can just, you know, hey, look at the screen I'm building, or look at the app I built, and post screenshots or videos. And it's cool to see what everybody's working on. So the Slack community is actually exceeding my expectations. I'm very glad I did that. And for those of you that are in the Slack community, thank you for contributing. It's been fun. I like it so far. Mentoring update. Again, due to time constraints, I was taking on 5 students. Now I'm going to drop it back to 3. So I only have 1 opening now. And again, it's just time constraints. I really enjoy coaching. I really enjoy talking to you guys and getting to know you guys and seeing the light bulb go off in the aha moments as I'm teaching you guys. But I am going to have to cut it back to 3 students just because, again, 45 hours a week of contracting. And I know that sounds like a normal work week, but again, that's actual, I'm not just sitting at work hanging out. That's actual coding for 45 hours a week, so it's a lot. So, and by the time I'm done with an 8-hour day of just coding, I'm just kind of mentally drained and don't really want to do too much. So that's kind of my channel updates, my mentoring updates. Let me go ahead and catch up on questions. We'll just do Q&A for the rest of the time here. Sorry, I gotta find this. Oh, let me give one other update. So the reason I've been doing this on my self-service is because my internet has sucked here, and you guys have heard me complain about my internet before. I went down at the front desk and finally complained about it. I wasn't an ass about it, but I just asked, hey, is there any hope, anything coming? They said, oh, have you tried Comcast? And I was like, I thought AT&T was my only choice. Anyway, long story short, I looked up Comcast. I can get crazy gigabit Ethernet now, so that's on its way. So hopefully now I won't have to do it on my cell phone, on cell service. I can get a proper live streaming setup to where you guys can see the chat box on the side, and I don't have to scroll with my finger. Hopefully that's coming soon. So yeah, my internet problems are solved. I'm super happy about that. All right, Mike Zander says, damn, I'm at 800 lines in one of my ViewControllers because I created my views programmatically. That's a different story, Mike. If you're doing all that views programmatically, that 200 lines of code is probably unreasonable because, like you said, you have to create your views programmatically. It's a good segue into why one of the big reasons I'm Team Storyboard. When I look at a ViewController that's 800 or 1,000 lines of code, I just want to give up right away. I was I don't want to sift through all this and figure out what's going on. That's a big reason I'm Team Storyboard. I'm not saying that way's bad. It's personal preference, right? In my opinion. I think both of them are fine. It's what you prefer. one of the main reasons I prefer storyboards is because that reason, like you just mentioned, you have all that UI code, and I know you can like break it out into like subclasses and all that stuff. But anyway, it's just a lot to figure out what's going on in all that UI code, and it's like I said, it's just overwhelming. Anytime I see a ViewController that's that long, I throw my hands up and I'm just like, I don't want to mess with this. So that's why I'm Team Storyboard. The main reason. Any advice for a non-American CS student? Is America the place to be? I don't know. I mean, that's hard for me to answer for your personal life. Like, I don't know what you want in the life, but obviously Silicon Valley and San Francisco is pretty much the center of the tech universe. Yes, there are a lot of other hubs in America and internationally that are very tech heavy as well that would be perfectly fine for you to go to. I don't think you have to go to America. There's plenty of, just in the iOS developers I follow, like on Twitter, there's plenty that are all around the world. However, maybe I'm biased because I live here, but I definitely think Silicon Valley is fruitful with tons of opportunities. We'll say that. Yes, winter's coming later today. I don't know if you guys know the episode 4 that's going to air tonight of Game of Thrones like leaked. I haven't seen it yet. I don't want to mess with that, but so I guess it's already been out and been out for a couple days now. But anyway, yes, Game of Thrones tonight. Can't wait. Sidar says, okay, so I had a network issue and I couldn't watch the answer. Could you repeat it? Sorry, I can't remember your question. That was way back at the beginning, and I don't want to scroll all the way up. Hey, Tyler, good to see you. Yeah, you finally caught me live. I guess you watched the replays. By the way, it was Tyler's idea for the timestamps. I didn't do the timestamps last week because I had so much going on. That was before I was launching the app. And it takes me like an hour to go back and like do timestamps for all the questions. But for those of you that are appreciating the timestamps and to be able to navigate through these live streams when you watch the replay, you got to thank Tyler for that one. That was his idea. Douglas, more about the Stack Overflow question. Stack Overflow has way more questions than answers in my opinion, so not always useful, especially if you have complicated needs. Yep, for typical like common questions, Stack Overflow is good. If you have a very specific, niche type question, I agree 100%, Doug. It's pretty rough to find an answer on there. Watch Beach Drop says, I'm new to iOS dev. Should I start with Swift 4 beta or with Swift 3? I would start with Swift 3 just because the beta right now, any beta can be buggy and can be frustrating, and I don't want that to be your first experience with iOS development. So go with Swift 3. The change from Swift 3 to Swift 4 is actually very minimal, not like it was with Swift 2 to Swift 3. Had you asked me this question when it was going from Swift 2 to Swift 3, I probably would have said start on Swift 3, but the Swift 4 changes are minimal. So, and a lot of the tutorials and work out there is in Swift 3. So definitely do that. And then when Swift 4 comes out, it'll be an easy switch. Tyler says, do you have any thoughts about MVC versus MVVM? I use MVC in most of my projects. I dabbled in MVVM in one of my projects, but didn't. Actually, it was actually at the startup before I left. We started building our new project in that. So I don't have enough experience in both to really give a qualified answer. Because again, I've just dabbled and played with MVVM, but I've used MVC a lot. So and here's the thing, MVC is tried and true. I want to play more with MVVM because I like the idea behind it about separating the view model out into its own layer. Because again, I like small view controllers, like I just mentioned. So I love the idea behind MVVM. I need to play with it more. The problem is like with these contracts that I get, it's usually on a tight time constraint. So there's no time to like play around and experiment. You just like got to go with what you know so you can build it good and get it out quickly. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Vlad says, I'm new to programming. I know the basics, but I'm kind of stuck on what to learn next. Any suggestions about small projects that can point me in the right direction? I'm going to give the same answer I give a lot, but raywonderlick.com, they do a lot of online tutorials. It is $20 a month, but there's video series about literally everything in iOS development, and you build like small little projects. So for example, their networking series, you'll build like an app that's all about like networking. So I would go there and do all the basic stuff there. Again, it's $20 a month. Some people don't want to pay money, but if you really want to be an iOS developer, you really want this to be your career, $20 a month is a small price to pay. And like I said, I'm not affiliated with them. I don't get a kickback on that. It's just what I did. So I can only tell you guys what I did and what worked for me and what didn't work for me. That one did work for me though. Okay, a lot of stuff about Clean Swift. Usama says, do you use UpWork to get contracts? No. I did one UpWork contract back in the beginning of my career. It was like $150 to like fix some UI. It wasn't even like building a full project. But yeah, I haven't messed with that. I've heard bad things about it. And plus, the rates you compete with are like people, $15 an hour, $10 an hour. Like I can't mess with that with living in San Francisco. The cost of living is so high here. Like minimum wage is higher than that. Like I might as well go work at Burger King. Kirti says, hi Sean, good morning. Any new tutorials with Brian coming? Brian is in Shanghai. That's why you haven't seen videos from him. He's traveling, he's in China, he's teaching class over there. So that's why he's kind of been MIA on YouTube. When he comes back, I have a couple ideas that I want to run by him to do. But yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to work together again. What we're going to do, we're not 100% sure yet. But yeah, I think that'll be a fairly regular thing. Some Baran says, how hard to switch from Objective-C to Swift? I think Swift is easier. I mean, Objective-C is a pretty, you know, all those square brackets and I don't know, like now when I look at Objective-C, it just looks frightening to me. I don't like it. So I would say it would be easy. If you know Objective-C very well, I feel like learning Swift would be pretty easy. I feel like if you know Swift very well, learning Objective-C, I feel like the opposite transition is harder to do, going from Swift to Objective-C. But I have minimal experience. I'm not an expert on that. So yeah. Ben says, yeah, the episode leak I've watched, it was awesome. Don't say anything, Ben. Leave the live stream. Don't say anything. What kind of courses do you offer in the group? Is it on Skype? Maybe you can provide someone a link to that. The Slack group is a Slack channel, so it's just text. My coaching I do over Skype and Google Hangout. That's a 1 hour. That's a 1 hour one-on-one, you know, coaching session with whatever you're working on. But the actual Skype channel is, you have to be a member of Patreon to be in there. So it's patreon.com/Sean Allen. And again, that's not because I want the Slack channel to be an exclusive club. It's just because Slack channels get out of hand when there's hundreds, thousands of people in it. This way it keeps the numbers small so we can build that tight-knit community. So yeah, so it's only for Patreon members only. Patreon.com/Sean Allen if you want to check that out. Is that best experience for Swift programmer to ignore the storyboard and work completely with coding? Again, Nader, it's personal preference. I will say that if you learn how to do it all code-based, you're going to understand what's going on under the hood. However, when you're learning on Storyboard, you're it feels like magic to you. You're just like, oh, I put it on the storyboard and it works. Really, all the storyboard is like a UI layer over the code. Like everything you do on Storyboard has like a code translation to it. So yes, learning in code will teach you what's going on under the hood. Once you understand what's going on, how the views are being built, in my opinion, I think Storyboard is better. It's just, again, personal opinion. You can do both. However, learning in code might have some benefits, or no, it will have some benefits, not might, because you'll understand what's going on better. But as far as like once you know everything and how to work, it's a personal preference. Aubrey says, do you know Android development also? I do not. I think my hands melt when I touch an Android phone. Like I don't, it doesn't happen for me. I don't like it. Is the contracting opportunities better because of Trump's H-1B policy? I don't know. I mean, I know what you're saying, like the whole immigration craziness that's going on here. I don't think it's directly affected me. I think the contracts I've gotten, like I would have gotten regardless. However, the actual job market, I don't know. I can't speak intelligently on what's going on there. I don't know enough. Are you looking at Android at some point? I think I kind of just answered that. I mean, I might do it just because I kind of want to learn it, but like I said, I'm not a fan of Android at all, their operating system. I mean, don't get me wrong, the phones, the hardware, all the Samsungs, like their hardware is awesome. It's just their software I'm not a huge fan of, and the UI and the overall just user experience. Please try to answer the only questions which is related to the topic, how I get iOS contracts. If watch the replay, if you missed the first, I talked about that for the first, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. So go ahead and watch the replay afterwards. I mean, if people ask me a question, I'm going to answer it. There's only been a couple iOS contract related questions anyway. But yeah, if you want all that information, go ahead and watch the replay. I talk about that for the first 5-10 minutes. In interviews, was it okay to use Swift for algorithms and DS questions? Yeah, they actually want you to use whatever language you prefer. From my experience in the interviews, they don't force you into a specific language for the most part, in my experience. As an iOS developer, they say, do you want to write it in Objective-C or Swift? And you can basically write it in whatever language you want. They just want to make sure you understand basically what's going on. Ryan Kim, I've just graduated as an advanced software developer. How do I put my foot in the industry of next program? So I'm kind of confused. You just graduated and you're an advanced software developer? kind of confused on that. How do I put my foot in the industry of programming? What should be my next step? Just start building projects and then start reaching out to companies. Yeah, I'm not really sure how to answer that one. It's a pretty vague, broad question. What's going on in the Packet 10? Afrin says, I'm a CS student. In my country, there are a lot of people who learn about Android development than iOS. Even on my college's curriculum, mobile app development, no iOS. What's your suggestion? So if you're so you're saying you want to learn iOS, but everybody's trying to teach you Android. I think that's what you're saying. Just take the initiative and do it on your own. Again, raywunderlich.com has tons of tutorials. There's my YouTube channel. There's all kinds of YouTube channels out there. There's all kinds of free and cheap alternatives out there, for learning. So definitely hit those up. Show some initiative. Do it on your own. Just because your college isn't feeding you that curriculum, that doesn't control you. You go ahead and do stuff on your own. Osama says, after looking at the video for 20 minutes, I still don't know how you get contract. Kindly give some tips related. Yeah, like I said, Osama, I don't want to give a whole nother 10-minute speech that I just gave at the beginning of the video. Yeah, just when the replay pops up, watch the replay. Just watch the first 10 minutes of it. You'll get your answers. Sambaran says, in your recent contracts, do you write your API by yourself? Nope, I work with a back-end web dev. He writes the APIs. Visionary, any tips for a startup upon launching? That's a huge question. And I'm not really like a founder that has launched successful startups. I just code. So build an MVP, get it in customers' hands, and the feedback they give you, make adjustments based on that. Hello, Sean, love your videos. Not a fan of storyboards, though. Have a great day. Yep, it's personal preference. To each their own. Mark says, US is iOS, everywhere else is Android. That is correct. And from what I've seen, yes, everybody says, oh, Android has all the market share. Yeah, but from what I've seen in the reports I've seen, the iOS, people that have iOS spend money on apps and in the App Store and stuff like that. Whereas yes, Android has most of the users, but far and away the money spent is on iOS. When will we be seeing more videos on the Swift interview playlist? This week. This week on my schedule, like I said, I'm doing Tuesday, Thursday, is concurrency and threading and basic unit testing. Did you see the leaked episode of Game of Thrones? Nope, I don't want to watch that. I'll watch it tonight. I have a whole ritual around Game of Thrones, so if I would have watched it earlier, that would have messed it up. What application should be built as a newbie? What did you made when you look forward idea of iOS? Like I said, I mentioned this earlier, just build something with a table view and networking. Those are the two core things. If you're looking for just a simple, quick app to make, again, make a network call, show the data in a table view, and that's a good basic place to start. iOS is popular in US and Europe. Outside of this, Android is huge. Yeah, I agree. But like I said, I don't want to sound like this is going to, I don't know. Like I said, most of the money is spent on iOS, though. Yes, the market share is huge. I'm a 13-year-old student and I'm willing to learn Swift. I know Python and Java. Any suggestions? First of all, that's awesome that you are coding at 13 and you already know Python and Java. Yeah, like I said, just do raywunderlich.com, do my YouTube channel. Let's Build That App YouTube channel. Like I said, there's so many free or cheap resources out there to learn iOS. Definitely do that. The YouTube channels, Ray Wunderlich, and you'll be on your way, especially at 13. You got plenty of time. Any plans on attending WWDC? Yes, I would love to go to WWDC. As you may know, it's a lottery though. Even if you want to go and you're willing to pay the $1,600 to go, you still got to get picked. So that's how it works. You put in your credit card, you pay $1,600. I mean, they give it back to you if you don't get picked, and then if you get picked, you get to go. So I would love to go. I just haven't really been picked yet. So yeah, that would be amazing. All right, let me see how many questions I got left. Okay, just gonna finish up these questions, then probably head out. So if you have any last second questions, get them in now. If not, I'll probably head out in about 2 or 3 minutes. Once you're about to start a new project, do you go straight into coding or do you start with things like a UML? No, I don't go straight into coding. There's a whole bunch of design work. Yeah, you do wireframes, high fidelity designs, figure out how you're gonna structure your data with all your model objects, all that stuff. Yeah, jumping straight into coding is a surefire way to waste a lot of time because you're just gonna have to go back and recode everything. So yeah, definitely planning. It's like the old woodworkers, idiom, like measure twice, cut once, that kind of thing. Yeah, definitely like that with coding. Hi Sean, do you do freelance and full-time Android development? Planning to jump on planning to jump to iOS 2, would you suggest me to start with Swift or Objective-C? I only do iOS freelancing. If you're just starting out in iOS, I would 100% do Swift. Objective-C is definitely still around. A lot of projects still use it, but every day Swift is taking over more and more every day. So if you're just learning and you're kind of planning for your future, definitely learn Swift. PD the Pro said, you said you have one opening for personal coaching. Give some details how you teach from the basics and what are the rates per class. So so for the mentoring, how I handle it is it's basically just Skype and Google Hangout sessions. And it's really, we can talk about whatever you want. And the reason I kind of wanted to offer this is because I remember when I was learning, if I had like 1 hour with a iOS developer, like that would have helped me out so much, whether it was going through my Udacity Nano degree, the stuff I was struggling. Like I probably would have finished my Udacity Nano degree had I had like a coach. Or if you're working on your own personal project, so you're trying to get your own app in the App Store. A lot of people are asking, what app should I build to get an app in the App Store? I'll help you with that. Or if you're just a beginner and you're just starting out, I have a couple project apps that I can give you, and we can start with the basics. It's really a customized, I don't have a curriculum that I give you. It's really, I want to learn about you, what you're trying to do, what your goals are, what you're building, and then I structure it around that, and I make sure that we accomplish your goals and what you want to get done. So that's how I do it. The rates are basically I sell packages of 3 for $210. It's basically you get 3 1-hour sessions for about $70 each. However, I do like an hour of prep work before each session because again, I don't want the session to be about me trying to figure out what to teach you. I want you to communicate with me via email beforehand what you want to learn. That way I can prepare it, and then when we do talk for 60 minutes, it's just 60 minutes of getting stuff done and me providing value. And then I also make myself available throughout the week, email, Twitter, I'll answer questions, simple stuff. So yes, you can look at that $70 an hour, but it's really a lot less than that because I'm doing a lot more work, aside from that 1 hour one-on-one talk. So that's kind of the gist of the mentoring. But yeah, I got one spot open because I am cutting my students back down to 3. Just because, like I said, I'm doing 45 hours of contracting work now. So, please make a tutorial about submitting apps to the App Store. Yep, that is high on the list. Can you explain why algorithm questions are asked in interviews? I'm 25 plus years experience with software developer, and it never came up. Why now? Yeah, that's a huge debate. I don't want to really get into it now because it's a long conversation and I'm trying to wrap it up. But yes, there's a huge debate on some companies like swear by doing the whiteboard interviews. Other companies say, no, they never use this. This is stupid. This is not what they actually do in their job. And they do that. And it's kind of this, back and forth battle. So yeah, some people are with you. They don't believe it. Adam says, which NBA teams do you support? So many tops. Yeah, I'm just a huge NBA fan. I have these kind of shirts and like pretty much every team, and that's because they're super lightweight. This is what I like play basketball into. It's because they're super lightweight, and when they get sweaty, they don't get heavy. They're like dry fit material. That's why I wear them. Eric says, can you do a video on how to start before coding? Yeah, all that prep stuff, like I mentioned, the design. That's a good idea. Don't know what to ask, so I'll say thank you. Your channel looks more productive than Brian's. Again, no, Brian is just he's away traveling. He's in Shanghai for a month, so he'll be back to normal. But he's in China right now, and I don't know if their internet's I believe their internet's restricted, so I don't even know if he can get on YouTube. Yeah, he hasn't gone anywhere. He's just kind of away teaching something. Nice to see you guys. Thanks. We'll email you with more details. Okay, no problem, PD. Hi, Sean. In conjunction with Eric B's question, what's your process before you touch Xcode on designing concepts, apps? What do you use? Pen, paper. So I use a program called Sketch. It's a design program, SKETCH. It's like $100. That's what I use to map out my UI, and that's pretty much it. First, yes, I'll start on like pen and paper, just to like get the ideas out of my head, and then I will move on to Sketch. Kind of do what they call low fidelity wireframes, where you're just using like shapes, no colors, no nothing. You're just using shapes to kind of like build what the screen will probably look like. And then I move on to high fidelity designs, where I actually make it like the pixel perfect version of what I want to see on the app, and then I go into code. That's kind of the typical flow when I'm doing a project by myself. But like I said, a lot of the contracts I've been working on, they have a designer, so I get designs fed to me, so I don't have to mess with that design project or process. Well, the companies ask for algorithms and DS mainly for freshers is what I have noticed in India, at least. All right, last question. Do you use IB Designable on your projects? No, I don't. I'm not 100% sure if this is true or not, but I find when you use IB Designable and IB Inspectable and it renders everything in the storyboard, it just slows everything down from what I've seen in my experience. Maybe the projects I've worked on haven't done it right, or I haven't done it right. If you do it well and it in your storyboard always renders smoothly and fast, let me know. But every time I've tried to do that and just tried to render all that stuff, it just really bogs the storyboard down. So I kind of stay away from that. But cool. All right, guys, thanks a lot. We'll see you guys next week, and be on the lookout for concurrency and threading and basic unit testing this week. All right, see ya.